I'll take. We were taking notes. Sorry about that, Josh. We're good. Yep. Thank you.
Welcome to the December 15th, 2025 meeting of the Dry Creek Joint Elementary School District Board of Trustees. All members are present, with the exception of Tracy Balcom. We wish her well. Are there any public comments and closed session items?
There are none.
Hearing none, we will adjourn to closed board. Welcome to the December 15th, 2026 meeting of the regular meeting of the Dry Creek Joint Elementary School Board of Trustees. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a report from closed session. The Board of Trustees voted 4-0 to deny the interdistrict appeal of student number 2025-2. And now we're going to go on to public comment from non-agendized items. Do we have any comments?
We do not.
We do not, okay. And now we could go to comments and reports from executive leadership and board members. First, let's see, we'll start with Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services.
I don't have
That'd be
anything tonight
Sarah
other than
Wagner.
to say, thank you to all of our staff for a good first half of our school year. And we'll shortly be going on our winter break, on Friday. So, Merry Christmas to everyone, and I hope everyone has a great break and enjoys the time with family and friends. And Jim has the other part of our little spiel.
Yes, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all of you. It's been a great first half of the year. I just wanted to say, in keeping with the spirit of the times right now, just a thank you to Megan Devine. She put together a giving tree at the district office. So we had several families throughout the district that we chose to sponsor as district office staff. And I don't recall how many families it was, but it was very many. And we have our tree in the hallway was loaded with presents just the other day, and they all got delivered to the families. And so that was one of the ways that we wanted to spread our cheer and say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to our families. So just wanted to share that with you.
And I'm gonna say what voice I have for my presentation, so thank you guys for what you said about staff.
Okay, so let's go on to the Board of Trustees. Ryan?
A year ago, I was getting sworn in at this meeting, so it's been a really interesting year to get to know everybody, and I'm just delighted to be a part of this organization and honored to serve in this capacity. And thank everybody. I know our principals got the night off tonight, which is a nice holiday treat for them. So, yeah, just thrilled to be here, thrilled to where we're going as a district, and very happy with just all that I've learned about our district in the last year. It's been very exciting and rewarding, so that's all I have to say.
Jason?
Just thankful for all of the staff that has made everything happen this school year. It's been a lot of ups and some downs and some craziness, and you guys have navigated this very professionally, from the executive team to the site administrators on down to teachers, custodial, everybody. I'm very impressed with how everyone's come together in the district, and just looking forward to another great year.
Jim?
Well, I for one cannot believe that we are just around the corner from the start of a new year. 2026 just sounds, I don't know, crazy but fun and hopeful. Aside from that, I'm hoping that everyone does have a wonderful holiday with friends and family. I do want to just mention one thing that I got to do since our last meeting, which was I went to the Olive Grove robotics team thing. I don't know if anybody went to that. It was, I just wanted to talk about it real quick because it was really a lot of fun to see all of these kids in their adorable outfits, working with their robots and talking to their parents. And then I think the highlight was hearing back from parents where it was pretty much a universal conversation about how their kids discovered a passion for robotics through this, and they discovered this new sense of community working with these other kids, and how they take it so seriously, and they're so competitive, and yet they're having such a great time. So I just wanted to say that was the highlight of the last month. So thank you to Olive Grove for inviting me.
Okay, thank you. I actually wrote some comments this time. These past few weeks, I met with our superintendent, Cliff DeGraw, for a monthly one-on-one, and I really appreciate him doing these for all of us. We have these one-on-one meetings. I met with our CBO, Christy Blandford, trustee Jean Pagnoni, and Cliff regarding our fiscal board focus area. And today I met with Chief Communications Officer Renee Baldaris, trustee Jason Walker, and Cliff regarding our communication board focus area. This past Saturday and 2 other times this fall, I supported the nationally ranked Wood Creek High School speech and debate team, which includes many really impressive graduates from Silverado and Creekview Ranch, by volunteering to judge their debate competitions. I also want to thank Cliff, Sarah, and the executive staff for putting together a document and email to us entitled December Board Update. It was really well done, whoever worked on that. Thanks to the staff also for posting the superintendent's executive leadership team salary schedules on the website. I think that is important in the spirit of transparency. As noted, the trustees' pay is also posted. For me, it's $180 a month before taxes. And if anybody's curious. Also, I want to congratulate Mrs. Mellon and the Silverado Middle School Band for beautifully playing the national anthem on center court at Golden One Arena at a Sacramento Kings game. There's a video out there, it's really well done. Finally, according to board bylaw 9100, no board member shall serve more than 2 consecutive years in the same office. So this is my last meeting as president. And ironically, I feel like I'm just now getting the hang of it. I think unquestionably the most important work I did in these 2 years was being charged with searching for, setting up the interview process, and negotiating the contract of our new superintendent. There were a few months where I had a lot of worry and weight on my shoulders, but I believe we hit the jackpot hiring Cliff DeGraw at the end. Being president was a very new experience for me. At first I was obsessed with not making any execution or procedural mistakes, such as mispronouncing Sean Schundelmeyer's name. Seriously. I would literally grade myself at every meeting, kind of in a joking way, but I strive to be perfect in execution. But over time, I realized that wasn't what was important. What really mattered was that every board and staff member and the public felt respected, listened to, and supported in expressing their viewpoints. What people remember is not the execution, but how they were treated. Our prior president was not a good role model for this, and my goal was to forge a new direction. Prior to taking office, I communicated with every board member that I will support anything they want to put on the agenda, that even though there will be drama and disagreements, we should all strive to be collegial. And importantly, I will go out of my way to facilitate free speech and provide opportunities for expression during meetings. This is not only regarding agendized items, there's bylaw 9323, then we have the current board comment time. And at the end of every meeting, I made it a point to ask if any board members had any final comments or would like to submit future agenda items. So lastly, following meetings, instead of grading myself on procedural execution, I'd ask myself, did every member of the public, staff, and board feel listened to and supported in their First Amendment rights to express themselves? Within limits, of course. In that case, the meeting was a success. My hope is that the future president will follow this path. Thanks. We'll go on to Cliff.
All right. Well, thank you, John. Appreciate the kind words. I'm also glad you hired me, so. Six months in, I still like it, so that's good. Just want to give a little rundown of my past comings and goings and reiterate some of the stuff that was already mentioned, but I had the opportunity last month to visit school sites, Heritage Oak, Antelope Meadows, Silverado, and Creekview. I attended the Council of Superintendents with other superintendents in the county, and then also a district superintendent's meeting at PCOE. The executive leadership team, which is us four, and Sarah and Jean, we all attended the California School Boards Association Annual Education Conference, which was in Sacramento this year. So it's mainly a school board thing and we're just kind of there, but it was a great time for us to kind of bond as a team and just have some, conversations that weren't always focused on work. So it was a great opportunity for us to get together and see other, former colleagues in other districts and other board members and kind of learn from them. I had my one-on-ones with our 4 board members here. Also, my one-on-one check-ins with ELT. We've started adding a little tradition this year with every quarter at the district office, we try to do a little something to celebrate everyone's birthday in the last 3 months. So Sarah Harvey has been great at setting those up. This last one we celebrated, I think it was October, November, December birthdays. And we She baked a ton of cookies, so it was come get a hot, fresh chocolate chip cookie, and we had done a waffle bar the last time, and then we had all these extra chocolate chips, so we thought, what better way to use our resources, so. It was very, very well received, and folks liked, just having the opportunity. Departments do their own things in celebrating birthdays, but this is just kind of a new thing to get everyone together. I met with the governance trainers that we worked with. I met with them and had a debrief, so James Warwick and Pete Constant. And just really appreciated the time and opportunity we had to work with them. We had a special board meeting at the end of October, and they helped us, kind of be able to work better together and learn how we could partner together better to lead the district. Some of the things that have come out of that you're yet to see, but one of them was focus areas that John had mentioned. So the board is reestablishing its priorities. So there's 4 focus areas that you'll see, and we've been working with a couple of them and a couple of us in each of the areas to kind of come up with a clarifying sentence that kind of describes their overarching goal. We then will take those focus areas and come up with more specific SMART goals that we'll work with staff and sites with to then achieve and then report back to the board. So once we have those done, we've done 3 of the 4. So the 4th one, we just need to wordsmith a little more, and then you'll see those back here. John had mentioned the board updates, so starting in December, our staff, we started putting together kind of a monthly update for the board, just letting them know all the different things that are happening throughout the district in each of our departments. It's just a way to share information that doesn't necessarily need to be a presentation here, but it may be something that a certain board member has an inquiry about, and then we can share it with all of them. So that's something we're starting, and you'll see each month. We obviously had our Thanksgiving break, and my family and I, we took Thanksgiving on the road to our daughter at college in Idaho because that was cheaper than flying her home and back. So we had a fun Thanksgiving up there on the road. Jim, Sean and I, Sean Schaunemeyer, Tim, we went and visited with the architects, who you'll hear from a little bit later, mainly to kind of help me understand the Creekview expansion project and planning and all those details that you'll see tonight. Renee helped me record a holiday message that is gonna go out to staff and families. So you'll see that right as we leave to the break. This last Saturday, Renee attended at Quail Glen. They held their 16th annual Lost But Not Forgotten gift wrapping event. So there was a highlight on Good Day Sacramento, so I know we posted that on our social media. But just a great event where community members can come and support those who've lost loved ones and help wrap gifts for them. So it's been 16 years and it seems like it's getting, better and better and more organized every year. So just glad that our site was able to participate. Our principal, Colleen Devine, was there, and just a lot of people from the community. And then as Jim had mentioned, just really want to give kudos to Megan Devine. So she really brings a lot of the kind of seasonal spirit here at the district office. We do all these dress up days, we did all these kind of challenge activities and Thanksgiving, and I don't have an outfit for every one of these days, so I haven't been able to fully participate, but it definitely brings like a festive.
Cowboy day for you.
Yeah, today was country Christmas. I don't have any for that, but Sarah did have
Sarah did.
Oh, Sarah's got a great sweater, there you go. Cowboy hats, cowboy boots. So I gotta do better next year. The Creekview Ranch leadership students over the last month came over and brought like a mobile hot chocolate bar and kind of did a little service and came out to staff, so that was great. What else? Oh, I know there was a couple of our ELT members who are remiss to share this, so I will share it. So congrats to Sarah's son, who's a state football champion. They won on Saturday. So she's been doing the mom athlete thing and traveling up and down the state. They played in the Fog Bowl. I don't know if you saw any of the highlights. I don't even know how they could see the ball. You couldn't even see the ball from from the sideline, let alone the stands, but pretty amazing. And then Jim's son is playing in a college football bowl, cause he plays for LSU and they made it to a bowl game. Which one was it?
The Texas Bowl.
The Texas Bowl. Yeah, pretty cool.
Really playing?
Congrats to them. So in addition to the great work they do here, they're also these traveling sport parents and it takes a lot of time and effort. And then I'll echo what was shared already, just a huge thank you to all of our staff. This is that time of year where you're kind of taking stock, can't believe it's already halfway over, and then getting some time to spend with family and friends and then kind of recoup and set new goals and refresh and come back. So just kudos to everyone who've made this year a great year so far, and best wishes and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone, and that's my report.
Awesome, congratulations. But wait, Ryder Lions didn't play in that game though, right?
Just for one series.
Once, okay. Anyway, back to, so we're on to item 6, the consent agenda. Any trustee requests that we remove an item from the consent agenda for further consideration? Hearing none,
I make a move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second. Motion from Ryan, second by John, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. On the action items, we'll go to Christy Blanford, our CBO, regarding our annual audit report.
Thank you. Tonight, we have Elizabeth Staub, did I say it right? Yes, it is right. From Crow, who's our external audit firm. Dry Creek has had a long-standing history with Crow, as well as I have at my last 2 districts, so I was super excited. I'm used to their system and the way they present their questions, so it was one transition that was not difficult. So tonight, Elizabeth will be going over a brief summary over our 24-25 independent audit. It really is an accumulation of all year's work. Thank you to all the site staff, secretaries, principals, clerks, everybody in the district office that works so hard at making sure things are done correctly and appropriately, and then definitely all the teams that help put all this data together. They take a sampling of everything from attendance to expenditures to agreements to everything. They pick a little bit of everything. And so it takes a lot of work to get that done. We have no findings this year, so I wasn't here for most of that, but I'm glad to see that that's gonna continue. And I'm gonna turn it over to Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? There you go. All right, good evening. Elizabeth Saw, I'm a partner with Crow LLP, like Christy mentioned, we are your external audit firm. We are hired by the board, and our professional responsibility is to report to the board. So we work closely with management, but our responsibility is, of course, to you all. Just as a way of thinking about it, if you don't hear from us until now, that's a good sign. So if there are any issues, we do have required communications to share with you all. If we had disagreements with management, any concerns, we would have no problem contacting the board president right away. So in an audit world, no news is good news until you get to the end and get the no findings report. So like Christy mentioned, there was an unmodified opinion, but I want to highlight a few things on that. On the report, we are responsible essentially for, I think, like 9 pages of the 100-page report. Our responsibility is to issue and render the opinions over 3 different aspects of the district. The rest of those pages is all the responsibility of your management team. We help them compile it into a readable, we think it's readable, it's arguable I think, but nice evening read. But we help them put that into the readable format. But it is all their documentation. One thing to highlight is that there were no audit adjustments and no waived adjustments. So everything that you saw in the unaudited actuals back in September is essentially what you are seeing here. It's just looking in a little different format. So you'll see the different funds represented in a different format, but the numbers will reconcile back to those unaudited actuals that you looked at back then, which is an important thing to note. I think that it gives those charged with governance a level of comfort that when you're receiving other documentation and numbers and budgets throughout the year, if you had significant audit adjustments at the end of the audit year, that might give you a bit of pause of, hey, what kind of numbers are we actually getting? Is it accurate? Is it reliable? But the fact that we've gone through all of your year, materially tested all of the different areas and had no adjustments or findings can give you a reasonable level of comfort with the information that you're receiving throughout the year. For the financial statements, we did render an unmodified opinion. That is the highest level of assurance that you can receive at the completion of an audit. And if you are familiar with these financial statements, which you might not be, there is a summary at the very back on page 70 of the report, and it's the summary of all the work that we've done. So we've issued the unmodified opinion, but then it talks about internal controls. So we have a responsibility to report to you any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies that may be identified throughout all of our procedures. This isn't to say that those don't exist, but from what the testing we did perform over the key cycles of your district, we did not identify any. We also didn't have any non-compliance material to the financial statements that was noted. So if you had a compliance finding of some sort that culminated to a large dollar amount that was material, we would need to report that to you. So there was nothing to report. The second audit that we do is your federal audit, a single audit, which is why we're reporting to you in December instead of our usual October. We usually report back to you guys pretty early, and this is the latest I think that we've ever reported to you on the final report. The federal single audit was delayed as far as the audit guide that the federal government requires us to follow to render that opinion. It wasn't finalized up until Tuesday before Thanksgiving, which is really convenient timing for us, I will say, but since your deadline is actually today, today's the deadline. So we were a little delayed on getting all of that information from the federal government for a couple of different reasons. But now that we got the final, we did perform our single audit. We tested your special education cluster program. That involves a lot of expenditure testing, which is payroll testing for the most part, making sure that the students are being served by qualified individuals, the money is being spent in accordance with the grant monies, and then all of the different compliance requirements are in line. We issued an unmodified opinion over that program audit, again, the highest level of assurance that you could receive. We also did not have any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies identified. And last, but definitely not least, is your state audit. So the state compliance audit, we will estimate it's about 50% of the time that we spend working with your team. The state of California has an annual audit guide they issue each year, and they used to, put in some new requirements for us to look at. They'd swap out a few. Over the last 10 years, it's basically doubled in size with the amount of areas and programs that we're required to test and audit. So if you are curious as to what those areas are, they are all listed in the state compliance opinion on page 62 and 63 of the report. Those are all listed: attendance, teacher certification, independent study if you have it, instructional time, all sorts of different programs. So I highlight that because you did receive an unmodified opinion on your state compliance. Again, the highest level of assurance, you had no findings. But I want to make sure that you understand the significance of that because the state compliance guide does not allow for materiality. So if we find any error, it doesn't matter if it's material or not, we have to report it. So the fact that there's nothing in here means that all your teachers and your staff, your program directors, everything that we looked at, they all did their jobs. They all did an excellent job, and what that means is you keep money. You don't lose penalty that goes back to the state. So job well done to your entire district. Any questions for me?
Any questions? I'll just echo that. I am a little curious, how often is it that a job is not all well done?
It's a loaded question.
You give me a range.
Yeah, it's not often. We don't have too many districts where it's that clean, especially with state compliance. It's really tough because the audit guide comes out after the year has already started, which is counterintuitive. Well, and you think about the federal compliance audit guide that was finalized, a few weeks ago, and the year ended back June 30. So you're having to comply with certain things that you didn't necessarily even know were what you needed to comply with. It is crazy.
And so we were totally clean
You're
here.
totally clean, so it's not common, especially this year, to be honest, we've come across a lot more findings, especially when it comes to certain programs like the ELOP program, TK, all these different things, managing ratio and class sizes. It's a lot of work to manage and make sure you're monitoring all these different things. And sometimes, especially if you have turnover in districts, people leaving sites coming, it is hard to keep track of all of it.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Looks like we made a lot of good hires this year.
Did a great, yep, a lot of them
That's how
are
I'm feeling.
familiar faces, yep.
Any other comments? Hearing none? I believe we need to make a motion to approve your presentation.
Yes.
Accepted, yep.
And the annual audit report, I'll make that motion.
Second?
Jason said motion by John, second by Jason, to approve the 2024-25 annual audit report. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. And now we have, I believe, Christy Blandford or Beth Parrish.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We have our first interim report.
Well, she's finding it.
Sorry.
It's okay. This is our first interim report for 25-26. The full financial packet, 114 pages, and I'm sure you looked at all of them in this presentation or in the agenda. Just as a reminder that the first interim report is a snapshot in time of revenues and expenditures as of what we knew as of October 31st. We also include the 2 following years as well. And again, those are estimates based on current year and what we know as far as funding that's changing. We use enrollment and all kinds of assumptions that we'll go through in a continuing slide. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit of a summary update from Legislative Analyst Office. And we're gonna look at projections for current year, where we are now compared to where we were at the state adopted budget and the update we brought you. We'll look at the multi-year that takes us through 27-28. Gonna talk a little bit quickly about enrollment and staffing for those 2 out years. An update on other funds as well. And towards the end, we're gonna give you some milestones because we're already looking at 26-27, so we're gonna start that budget development process. My team and HR have already started to meet, and we're planning our trips out to our school sites, so that's gonna be up and rolling before we even get to second interval. And then we are also looking for, we have a positive certification, and so we'll take an action to, with the vote at the end. So prior to tonight, you saw the adopted budget in June, then we brought you a state update in September. Nope, was it August? No, September, and then we brought you an audited actuals as well. And this just continues from there, so we've made additional adjustments based on where enrollment is falling now, new allocations that we've gotten for some of our funding sources, and then some adjustments in expenses. We are expecting previous estimates, we're showing a deficit for this year. Now, based on some of this new funding that's coming through, we are showing an increase of $237,000 for the current year. $907,000 for next year, and then in 27-28, we are going back to that deficit. We do expect that to change before second interim, as these are, we're putting in revenues that are coming in, that we will be bringing back plans for, so those numbers will change as we move along. We are spending down our commitments and some of our one-time funds. We are seeing declining enrollment, we are still projecting that for the out years. But again, we still have a positive certification, we meet our external and internal reserves in all 3 years. So we had a presentation, I was at a CBO symposium, along with some other information that came out from the LAO's office. And we are seeing revenues higher than their previous estimates by $9.7 billion, which sounds fantastic, but they do expect this to be temporary in this year. There is a really big AI push, I always try to say IAs, that's pushing up the stock market, and they're just not sure how well that's gonna land and how long that's, kind of leaves it a little bit unstable. This is the first time, even when we start to talk about COLA, you'll hear some interesting things that I've not seen before them do to us, so this year, we still see, so with our increased revenues, you would hope that we would see that next year. We do not. They're still expecting to see an $18 billion deficit next year, and then $35 billion in 27-28, and they don't even wanna look beyond that, but they're not seeing that it's going the opposite direction. So this is their little upside down chart that kind of shows the difference that from year to year. So we are hoping that something turns around, but we're gonna keep our eye on it. Prop 98. Let's see. For 25-26, 3.8 billion is really due to that higher general fund revenues and primarily from capital gains. That's what's driving that increase that we're going to see. I'm trying to read from far away. So because of this extra increase, we are expecting to see some one-time dollars coming in. We don't know how much specifically we will get, but they have about $7.4 billion that they can send out in one-time funds. Part of that will be to true up our last year's, if you recall, Prop 98, we were in a deficit, so they didn't pay us for all of it. So their plan is to catch that up and not do that deferral at the end of the year where they were talking about not giving us cash in June, pushing out to the following July. Now they're hoping they won't have to do that because of this little one-time windfall of cash. They also, the other change for them was the COLA. We've dropped COLA from 3.02 to 2.51 for next year, which is not ever what we wanna see. And so they're expecting to be able to fund COLA at that lower rate, fund the prior year reserve, true up with a ticket price just for the COLA alone is $2.5 billion, so they're really kind of eating into that fund. And they are projecting higher COLAs in 27-28 and 28-29. But what they did explain, and I didn't do a copy of their chart, was typically they show us a graph of where they thought we were going to be in between last year and 3 years out, and where they now think we're going to be. And this time when they did it, they had a shaded area that looked kind of like a Pac-Man, and they said it'll fall somewhere in here. So we did go with the estimates that they gave us, and you'll see in a later slide for the out years, but again, they said not to necessarily count on it, so we did leave a little bit on the bottom line just because we aren't sure where that's gonna go. And we just wanna make sure we don't overextend. So enrollment, from the last time I did my presentation, so we did this weekly, and it has changed up and down. So on this slide, it shows we were down 5 from the projection I had given you at the last board meeting. But then this week, we were back up that 5, so we're back to 0. So we're holding with our revised estimates, which is still 124 less than last year, but 122 students above what we started the year with our adopted budget estimate. So we're still moving in the right direction. And as I've said, it changes weekly. They seem to come and go, pretty quickly. We're gonna move on to LCFF. So we did have increased enrollment, for this year. Our actual ADA through November was 95.5. And the projections that you'll see, we're holding at 94.87 because we do see that fluctuation. We'll also see a little dip after the winter break. And so again, not to overinflate our bottom line, we're gonna stick to kind of a more neutral number where we have been landing. It is a decrease from the prior year. So our unduplicated count has also dropped just a hair. But luckily we get funded on a 3-year average, so we're actually going to be funded on 51.41%, which is an increase from the prior year. We are seeing that kind of trend down, and as we see declining enrollment, we always estimate a portion of that is gonna drop our unduplicated number as well. So COLA, skip that one, sorry. It's duplicate what I already shared with you. So part of that increase in what you see is we do have one-time funds out there. We brought you in the last update, the additional learning recovery, emergency block grant funds they had cut, and then they gave us back some this year. And then the new one that I don't have an acronym for, the Student Support and Professional Development Discretionary Block Grant. Those funds were in there. And we've been working as a team on how we're going to spend those. So looking at that sunsetting list of positions that we usually bring to you at every board meeting. I did not bring that chart this time because all of those are listed on that first column on that slide. And we were able to get all of those in through the next 2 years with this one-time funding. And then the balance we'll bring back with additional plans. So this is our current plan, so some of that also includes professional development. There's some safety items still in the one-time funds that we already had that we're spending down. And so we're trying to extend those necessary and very important services to our students so that we can continue to figure out where we're headed. As we run through these funds, we will keep you updated. We'll bring that chart back and let you know. Some of the other changes, ELOP last time when we brought it, the rate 2 had not been decided. They always decide rate 1 first. Then when they figure out how it's gonna fall out, rate 2 gets decided, but in the bill that was passed, the minimum for rate 2 was projected for $1,575 per student, and they're saying that they will meet that and not below. So it could be more, it could be less, or it can't be less, I mean. So for us, that includes $772,000 in revenue that's included in this update. So you'll see a jump there. We've had some savings from vacancies, some actual placements on the salary schedule. When we budget for vacancies, we always budget them at an estimate of where they're going to be, and we also budget for all of their health and welfare benefits, and we never know if somebody's gonna take it or not, so we always budget for it. And now we've seen some cleanup. There was also a little bit of originally a longer overlap for Cliff and I with Brad and Roger. And so we were able to pull back that little bit of savings. We saw $266,000 coming back from workers' comp dividend for last year that we didn't need, so that comes back to us. We also increased our interest earnings this year. With some of this one-time funds, rates are better, we have more cash in our pocket, so our interest was up. Prop 28's allocation also increased for the current year. We don't ever know that until in September. So we budget based on the prior year rate, current year students, and then we update it once we know it. We never know until then. And then a little change, and you'll see it in our 5,000 object codes. Under services, we adjusted our insurance. They used to, as this AB 218, these past claims came up, they started pulling dollars together and we were getting some big ticket invoices at first. Now they're doing 2 years at a time that we can pay, and so we're spreading it out over that 2 years. So you won't see it up and down each year. As we would have been in the past, as we started in budget development, it was lower than what they expected. And so it kind of just evens us out, so we're not spending all of that cash in one year. That's as far as I got.
That was good. Is your first cough?
Mhm.
Doing great.
Okay, revenues and transfers in, we are 107.2 million. 81 million of that is LCFF. Federal is coming in just behind that at 3.2 million, and other state 15.6.
Would you like to take a quick break?
Sorry,
It's so far to go, John.
you know,
We could take a couple minutes if you'd like. Let's do that. Let's take like 2 or 3 minutes. That's okay. Sarah? We'll take a short break. Thanks.
Ready?
Or festive garb.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, we're back.
Thank you for that. Let's see if I can. Thank you for the pause. I think I feel better. Let's see, where was I? So LCFF sources are 76% of our revenues, followed by state at 14%. And those being our major ones, the major changes that you see are from the ones I was just explaining, the ELOP revenue, Prop 28, interest, those kinds of things make up that, those increases. On the expenditure side, of course, our salaries and benefits is our highest, 83.6, almost $83.7 million. 78% of that, of our budget, which is where it should be. It's a little bit lower, it looks a little lower, just because we still have those one-time funds and some major purchases that we've done, so those expenses look a little high compared to our salaries and benefits. If you take those out, we are well over 82%. And those also include carryover funds from a prior year, and so any of those that weren't in there before, they're in now, it makes it, again, makes it a little bit higher. We always have carryover of some funds, we do try to budget for what we think we're going to spend, but you know, as we all know, we plan for things and things change and we don't always get to spend it all. So those expenses will, when they do fall, they fall and turn into carryover for next year. Our books and supplies, they're at the top, $4.36 million, which is 4%. Our services are $11.7 million, which is approximately 11% of our budget. And again, that includes school site carryover, things for projects. We did have some increased costs this year for special ed, for some services and for transportation that were not in the previous update. 2.8 on capital outlay, which includes routine restricted maintenance, excuse me, things like flooring, painting, paving, vehicles and grounds. And you'll see the difference on the next slide. And so in our revenues, that $2.5 million, which we went over those same ones, ELOP, interest, Prop 28, and all of the carryover that's coming in. And that includes state, federal, and local, and so when we have carryover from title programs, any of those things are one-time funds that we are still spending out. Those are all in there once we close the books, then we bring them in, and we don't get to do that until well after the September update. We're expecting an increase of $237,000, as mentioned before. And we do have some planned drawdown, which because of those increases, kind of hides that piece, but we are spending down some of those one-time funds. Let's see. We have our unassigned balance is 18% in that current year, and again, that's because we have those funds that have just come through, and then we won't be spending until next year. So the state minimum is 3%, and which we all know, we've talked about, I think, every time, that only lasts for a few days, a week or two at the most. And there's a lot of government finance, the Governmental Financial, Officers Association, and other organizations do recommend 2 months worth of operating expenses, which is about 17% reserve level. PCOE supports a higher level, so we do have things built into our budget. As you know, during that Great Recession, and we had the shortfalls in 2021, and then the postponed tax deadlines in 22, 23, things like that, and so we do try to set reserves so that we can withstand that cash flow and not have to borrow, because borrowing costs money, but also ensuring that we're taking care of our staff and students. But we do know that things can happen and we wanna be protected. We wanna protect our programs from that downturn as well. One of the things that I think has been said before is additional reserves are required for a multitude of reasons, some of which are listed on the slide. But really, recognize the district's duty and the board's goals to maintain fiscal solvency. So this gives us that little bit of flexibility when things get volatile out there, which we all know happen. And so some of those, we do have textbook adoptions coming, and we never know what those rates are gonna be. Sarah and her team try, but they also have to look at so many different things, and then by the time we pick, we don't know where those prices are gonna go. We're seeing increased cost in utilities. Everybody's seeing the healthcare issues, so our employees are seeing that, we're seeing supplies are higher. I'm gonna stop before I start to cough. In our multi-year projection, we are declining. The state as a whole is declining over the next 10 years. That report has not changed. I think a year or two ago it said 600,000 over the next 10 years, and that's still happening. We're still seeing that. Looking at birth rates locally, for the grades that are coming in as TK and K, there was a slight increase in the birth rates, but again, that's over both of our zip codes, and we don't get all of those kids. We get most of them, but not all of them, so we do try to estimate how many we think we will get. I think our 2 zip codes are 57 square miles, and so we know that we have other schools in there. So we've taken an average over the last 10 years to figure out what that percentage might be. We are including a handful of kids coming from the new developments, but until we really see that happening, one of them seems to be a little behind schedule from where they thought they would be, so we've only added in 11 for next year, I believe. So we still are seeing a difference, and again, I think it's kind of been the ongoing theme is our outgoing 8th graders are much larger than our incoming kinders. So for instance, next year, 26-27, well, this year, we're seeing 760 8th graders going out, and we're only estimating to see 521 kinders coming in, so that's a loss of 239. This year's projections, TK was much higher than was originally projected, but K was down considerably. I think it was 110-ish from what we had originally projected. So although we saw TK go up, we saw kinder go down, which doesn't help. So in the projections, we're keeping those numbers flat where they are, not assuming that anything is going to change, that we don't have this huge influx. I think that we're still showing a slight increase in incoming from the new developments for the 27-28 as well, but again, not enough to offset another 200 and something decrease. So we will keep our eye on it. I mean, it's always wrong the moment I type it, right? We don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know who's gonna move in or move out or where their kids are going to go, but we'll monitor it closely, and as these developments continue, we'll keep an eye on that as well, and we'll update as we go. So here's what we're using currently for next year's enrollment. You see that 211 decrease. And then we also show the staffing, which would be a reduction of 9 FTE based on that declining enrollment. Some of our key assumptions that we're using for the multi-year, you can see our enrollment of 6,496 going down to 6,301 in 27-28, so it's a loss of 195 that year. Not quite as bad because we're estimating at least 15 kiddos coming in from the developments, hopefully. We're still keeping our ADA rate lower. It has been lower. We've not recovered from COVID. I don't think anybody really has yet. I think we're one of the ones that's getting pretty close, but we're just not there. The staffing targets, the only thing that's changed is that, TK is 20-1, or sorry, there goes my medicine head. You can see the COLAs for the current and the 2 out years and what they were in June and what they are now. The only one that has changed is next year's, which drops. And so with that, I'd say 1% of that COLA is about $760,000 for Dry Creek. So it was a little disheartening when we saw that change. We're just hoping that it doesn't drop any more than that. But if it does, we will update and keep you posted. PERS, as you know, always goes up. We did see they actually dropped their projection for next year, which doesn't happen very often. It was, I wanna say it was 26.8, now they're taking down to 26.4 for next year. So it's actually a decrease from current year, which I don't know that I've ever seen. They did a 1% kind of give back 1 year, and then they jumped ahead again, so it's really nice to see that little bit of a cut, cause that number keeps growing and so quickly. Okay, so based on those assumptions, we are looking at an increase in our fund balance, of $907,000 for 26-27, and then again, we're gonna go back the other way at a negative $37,000 for 27-28. That is due to some of the one-time funds that we have that we're gonna spend down over the next 2 to 3 years. And those are state and federal funds. We also have some bus grant money in this year, some E-rate projects, things like that. That learning recovery block grant, we had some changes in lottery as well. And then with the buses, we had, that were energy efficient with the charging station and the electric buses, that we don't have budgeted for the upcoming years. So that does show that our unassigned fund balance is growing as well. And so we'll be coming back during second interim and budget development with a better understanding, a better plan for those funds, and some additional commitments. I just wanna emphasize that this projection will change, it'll change before I wake up tomorrow, because all we can do is the best information that we have. The LAO's office was very unclear with their information, they felt like they didn't have enough information, the federal shutdown. Some of the agencies that they work with to make their projections were all shut down, and therefore they could only use what information they had. They didn't have their normal practice of their meetings and their collaboration and pulling data points, and so there's a lot of data points that are missing this time around. That hopefully by second interim we'll have a better understanding, moving into those out years. Other funds, I won't read them all to you, they haven't changed as far as what we have. Our deferred maintenance, I would say is probably the one that I would focus more on, is just that we have projects like HVAC replacements, roofing, flooring, things like that come out of there that keep our facilities up to date and good for our students and for our families and the community. And here is a look at all of our other funds. We all have a positive ending balance in all of them. Some are just sitting at the moment. Some are related to our taxes. And then our capital outlay, things that we put money in for tech replacement and other district-wide initiatives. Like the Creekview expansion, as we're trying to make sure we have enough funds to fund that. So in those, you'll see developer fees. We've seen additional interest in those funds as well. They each get their own interest, and so that's gone up a little bit. Some of the expenses, as mentioned last time, the Antelope Crossing and Olive Grove expansions, as they're coming to a close, we're starting to adjust those numbers down to what the actuals were. And so by second interim, it should be all the way done and you'll be able to see a final, but those are those kind of changes that we see in our other funds. And moving into 26-27, we're doing first interim tonight. Governor's proposal is due January 10th. We have the school services and the capital advisors do their conferences to kind of break it down and give us the pieces that are most important to schools. Scheduled, they're scheduling them out a little bit later this year, the 20th and 23rd. And then, so we have our first budget workshop on January 22nd. So it's gonna be a tight timeline to get from what I get out of that to getting it into a digestible format for you guys, but we'll get there. February for the second board workshop, we'll be bringing second interim in March. The governors may revise in May with another update to the board as well. And then Sarah and I will be bringing LCAP and budget in June. And so hopefully we will have a better picture of what that looks like for us once we've all had a chance to digest that information and talk about enrollment and staffing and work with our sites on what they need for next year. So at this time, staff is recommending a positive certification. We are projecting declining enrollment and spending down of our commitments. We do expect we meet our reserve levels. And again, the state is looking at a deficit of 18 billion, and then 35 billion after that, so. With that, we just need a motion to approve first interim.
Thanks, Christie. Any questions?
So, yes. For that 9 FTE reduction, due to decline in enrollment, what are you guys looking at in terms of retention strategies for staff or minimizing impact to the?
I think I'll let Jim take it. A lot of times there's attrition in there with retirements and things like that, so it.
Yeah, that's a good question. With the 9 FTE, we will have no problem through natural attrition making up that through our retirements. We have several teachers that are out on leave that are being filled in now by temporary contracts as well. And with the temporary contract, they're not guaranteed a position for the following year. And so we have those teachers that are on that type of contract. We have yet to see our retirees come in, which I anticipate they'll be anywhere from, I would guess, 5 to 12, just looking at our demographics. So between those things and just naturally people leaving because life happens and people move, I don't think we'll have any problem, nor do I foresee that there's gonna be any type of like a layoff type situation because of the 9 FTE.
Very good, and kind of a follow-on question, have you guys seen any enrollment benefits from taking on the TK programs?
Well, I think as Christy mentioned, our TK exploded this year, so we added three more classes than we were anticipating. But yet that coincided with our kindergarten not coming in as projected, so it did help for sure. And with TK there come additional constraints on the class and facilities, because you can see that it's 20-1, but it's really more 10-1 because we have another adult in a classroom as well. So it comes with additional expense, but yes, we did see an increase in TK this year.
I have a couple questions, kind of general questions. Good job, awesome presentation. Roger would be so proud. So, no, I think we're spoiled for competency in our district, so good job, and Beth too. And everybody, I know, all the way down to special ed and all the things, there's just so many moving pieces that we can't predict and have to be tracked, and to get the unmodified result from that, all that chaos is very great to keep that tradition going. It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
this district definitely has the cogs and wheels working together, it's not always like that. And so when we go to talk about budget, you know, Beth and our team meet with school sites and departments, and I meet with departments as well, Sarah and I spend a lot of time talking about it, and everybody's really in tune, and they really are putting a lot of thought into how they're spending their dollars and making those plans, so I'm gonna say kudos to everybody that touches a budget because it's impressive.
It has to be accountability all the way down to the smallest things, so I think that's really good. So the one-time funds, you know, obviously those are great, when we get, you called it a windfall, I mean, when those come, you know, what can we do with that kind of money? Is there certain buckets it has to go into when we get the one-time funds? How much of that is bankable?
It all depends on what they decide when they hand it to us. So this, the newest one, the discretionary block grant, that word discretionary is really our key. It has student support, professional development, and discretionary, and so in the trailer bill language, it very specifically states for any purpose of any increased expenses. So they don't always come that much flexibility. Right, oftentimes they have some strings, but in this case, when they put together these, because of the additional revenues that they have, they tend to be a little bit less prescriptive, but we won't know until they come out with something.
Did you see my green light?
I did.
Oh, I just wanted to say, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, so if the state increases the Prop 98 funding, that's now the new floor for the future, so with the state revenues being kind of up and down, they haven't committed to that, so they're doing these one-time funding Band-Aids, which is great, it still helps us do things, but we can't like use that to fund ongoing staff costs and things like that, cause we can't bank on that being an ongoing cost, so it's just a funky cycle that we have to live with, and sometimes they come earmarked for very specific things, so we're limited, and you know, there's usually a deadline, so yes, they're one-time funds, they might be here for 2 to 3 years, and then you have to spend them all for the right purpose, and you get audited on them and all that kind of stuff. But that's the governor's budget planning in the past few years has been this, just every year, just these one-time things, so you can't really plan for the future with that, so you're just kind of dealing with it.
And of that is some of it, we talk about rainy day, you know, and planning for the future. In the event, we want money to go towards obviously funding all of our educational endeavors. And I just learned from Sarah this week about how our instructional coaches are such a blessing to have in our districts and what impact they have. And not all districts do that. Lots of, you know, we do a lot of great things to support our teachers and staff. And we want to continue to do that. So, but for some of the, you know, with the shortfall coming, you know, we do bank some of that then in some of our savings for the future, and we're able to save that for a rainy day if it's not earmarked to have to be spent.
Yes, so as we build those reserves, those are based on those percentages, if you, on one of those slides, it kind of gives you the percentages, and that's based on whatever we're spending, so that would include any of that in those one-time funds that we're spending, and that's part of the calculation, so it would be a percentage of that as well.
And we try to spend that money so we can save money elsewhere, so we can have it for later.
Correct, which is why sometimes you'll see in your packet, in the full financials, you'll see unrestricted versus restricted, and you'll see some changes where one has gone up and one has gone down because we've moved expenses into those restricted ones so that we can hold on to our unrestricted where we have a little bit more wiggle room and flexibility to hold on to it a little bit longer in case it can get us through another year.
When you talk about the increase in the interest returns, you know, you said 472,000.
Mhm.
That's good, and
That's
so, you know, I know obviously the market goes up and down based on interest rates, but is there any way we can squeeze, you know, squeeze more out of our interest rates or anything? Is that, it's because some of our money's sitting in the county treasury.
That's where it's all pulled from.
Yes.
They do a pooled fund.
Yeah.
And then they give us estimates on where they think they're landing through the year, and so we try to use that, and there's a detailed workbook that shows the cash in and out each month, and then the interest from the county and whatever their rates are. So we don't really have any way to change that at this point.
Can't buy Tesla stock or anything.
Right.
All right, and then cash with fiscal agent, is that a separate category than the county money?
That usually you see with our bond related funds.
Yeah.
Or anything else that the treasury is holding for us versus, so there's the county treasury and then there's the county treasury holds them all. But we have the pooled cash with county, which is our county treasury, but which is also district county office funds, they all lump together. And then the cash with fiscal agent sometimes is our, I can't think of who we use,
That's okay,
US Bank.
fiscal
No,
agent.
they hold on to our, it's US Bank, right? Where we have our tax revenues coming in to be able to pay off our bonds, that's
Yeah.
sitting over there, and that's not in the county treasury pool, so it's sitting separately on its own. So they kind of lump it together for reporting purposes, but it's money that's not in our county treasury.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I have more questions about that, we can do it over coffee sometime. So,
Okay, yeah.
Just curious, all those things, and then the CBO symposium, you've been involved in those, well, now you're CBO, but what was Cliff was telling me about you were on one of the boards for the business officers.
Yeah, so I sit on the board for the California Association of School Business Officials. CASBO is an acronym, and it primarily is a function of getting they're really the foremost authority on school business, so anything in any of the operational side of the house, we talk about, so we have, they have committees, we put on workshops, we bring in school services and FICMAT and all of the organizations, we all kind of work together to put things together, we do an annual conference, and it talks about every discipline that's on the operational side, from finance to budget to HR to custodial to transportation. There's representatives all over the state. I think we have almost 1,000 of the districts that are in California are members. And so there's a lot of free staff development. I usually do my onboarding of my team. There's a set of programs that I have them go through because they're free, and it helps us not have to redo that every time we have somebody new. Here it's not as often. My last district, we had turnover was high because we had a lot of staff was huge, and so spending that kind of time was hard. And then when it comes to, we get into specific topics, so CBO Symposium is a day and a half of things specifically targeted to CBOs, whether it's how to deal with declining enrollment. School services comes in, the LAO's office, so that slide was from their presentation. They came to us and gave us their forecast of the current year and the next 2 years. School services gives updates on where they see negotiations happening throughout the state, which thank goodness that's not us, we're not in any of those. And so they give us a lot of targeted information on networking, any of the other things that are happening out there. It's really driven by the members, and so oftentimes you'll see a CBO or a director or a technician, somebody putting on the workshop. We have an annual conference coming up in end of March, beginning of April. I'm doing 2 presentations with some folks from down south related to audit work, pitfalls and things to watch for, and so it's just I've been involved for I don't wanna say 28 years or so. Currently I'm their vice president for the state of California. And it's just very exciting because it gives me a chance to give back, but I also get firsthand knowledge, and I talk to CBOs all over the state on a regular basis, and so none of us are doing this by ourselves. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. When something's happening, we get together and we talk about it. We do a lot of legislative work as well. There's a lot of advocacy work, trying to get some of these bills that have been trying to get through. We try to get them, we put our voice out there, and the legislature comes to us now and invites our CASBO team that does that piece, not me, to talk to them and get input from all of the districts across the state to say, is this good, is it bad, does it have unintended consequences? And so we really have a voice to try to help, so thank you, Cliff, for bringing that up. It's a great,
I think it's amazing, I heard
It's
about that, I
wonderful.
was like, that's great, cause
Yeah, really.
we had a chance to hire him, but they hired you, and you have some strong kung fu in that department,
you.
so we were very thankful to have you, your perspective you get from that relationship you've had for a long time, so.
It's wonderful, and it's really helpful.
Well, we're very thankful for you to leverage that
Thank
here,
you.
so it's great, and good job. I think that's all, I have I'll save the rest of it for coffee.
Yep, anytime.
Great, and Jean?
No.
Nothing to say? I'd like to echo what Ryan just said. We're really grateful to have you here.
Thank you.
Feel very lucky about it. I have kind of just I have a few, but I'm not gonna do a ton of questions. I have a much greater level of confidence in the district and yourself than I do in the state, frankly. I see budget deficits, but I also see declining enrollment, and just to kind of reassure us, you see a budget deficit, you see declining enrollments, yet we're doing the expansion of Creekview Ranch. How do you explain that or reassure us that we're all staying within the budget?
I'm gonna take that.
I'm gonna pass the baton.
So that actually will dovetail into the.
Okay, let's go to the next one. I don't wanna.
No, it's okay, I'll answer it here. I think what's important is, we're expecting 1,500 homes in this area, in the Creekview Ranch attendance area. And with the last facility master plan presentation, I know that the student generation rates that I presented to the board that were in the plan are low, just because of what we're seeing with birth rates, and we're not seeing, we anticipate that the product out here is gonna be higher price means usually older kids, move up homes, whatnot. So we're expecting about 250 students
Okay,
from those 1,500 homes. And right now, we're maybe about 80 students under capacity-ish. I'd have to, look at my notes at Creekview now. Now, with looking at inter-district transfers and things like that, we can massage those numbers a little bit. But by and large, if we want to keep kids in their neighborhood schools, that's gonna be the impetus for building that. And then part of the dollars that we get to build is from mitigation agreements that we've entered into with the ranch. We're working on one with Creekview. And so, those were what the ranch was, around $5 million. Creekview is probably gonna be a little bit more than that when it's all said and done. We're still negotiating with that developer. So that combined with what we've already saved, we're trying to make ends meet. It'll be close.
and we could talk about that more in the next presentation anyway, so. Yeah, thanks for that. Any more discussion? Hearing none?
I make a motion to approve the
First interim.
first interim, 2025, 2026 first interim.
I'll second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Jean, all in favor? Motion passes 4-0. Now we're gonna go to Jim Ferguson. And approval of resolution 2025-06, evaluating real property in accordance with the school site selection standards and approving the acquisition of real property.
Yes, I love the long titles. So the next two items are related to the Creekview expansion. I'll take this item and Sean Schondelmeyer, Director of FMOT, along with our friends from Nocton Lewis Architects will be here to walk you through the rendering. That'll be the fun presentation that everyone's been waiting for tonight. Sorry, Christie. So as you know, the district entered into a mitigation agreement with West Park on the east side of Creekview Ranch School. Part of that agreement is we get 2.8 acres to expand the campus, including pickup, drop-off, parking areas, additional classrooms, restrooms, and workrooms on the east side of the campus. And I already alluded to the need for it because of the influx of homes that are due to come in. And we really want to be ahead of the game. The district has always been proactive in planning for facilities so that we can house students and minimize any disruption to neighborhood schools by overflowing out to other schools. So therefore, we need to look at expanding it beginning with the 27-28 school year. So really with this resolution, the next step in the process for the district is for the board to adopt this resolution, which certifies to CDE that the property meets the criteria in Exhibit B of the resolution. We have completed our geohazard, geotechnical surveys. There's no issues with the land for the expansion. And therefore staff recommends adopting the policy assuring that the criteria in Exhibit B has been met. Once we do this, then this kind of starts our process to take ownership to annex the land and get permission to build upon it from CDE.
Okay, thanks, Jim. This is a roll call vote?
Yes, it
I
is.
believe, yeah, I'm gonna abstain because I live in this area and it affects my property value, so I'll just abstain. Sarah?
I do need someone to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-06.
And a second.
I'll second.
Motion by Jason, second by Ryan.
So we have roll call vote?
Roll call vote, yeah, Sarah will do it.
Board member Pannoni,
Yes.
board member Walker,
Yes.
and board member Haynes.
Yes.
And board president Penske's abstaining.
Abstention, yeah. So motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
And moving on, I believe we're moving on to the architects.
All right, good evening.
Hold on, welcome Sean Schondelmeyer.
Thank you very much, appreciate that.
I do
Thank
think
you.
that deserves a spot.
Thank you.
All right, dovetailing on what Mr. Ferguson just said, we'd like to request that the board approve a design services agreement with Milas Modular to start the process to get these buildings built. So there's 4 main contracts on this project. Noctilus Architects is the architect for the site work, doing all the utilities and everything. Milas Modular also will have a design contract to design their actual buildings themselves. Then there's going to be a site construction package, and then there's going to be the construction and install of the buildings for Milas Modular as well, if approved. So those are the 4 main contracts. So tonight, we're going to do a presentation, then I'll ask the board to, for a motion to approve the design and engineering contract with Milas Modular. So I'd like to introduce Brian Madem. We've also got Chris Flatt and Yesenia Watkins with Knox & Lewis. They've been our successful architectural partners for the last 10 years.
Thank you, Mr. Schondelmeyer. Sean introduced my team. I just make this really, really quick because these guys really have the floor. But I just want to thank the board and staff and former superintendent, Mr. Tooker, for allowing us to really be a part of this journey with this district for the last 7 or 8 years. I think Dr. Lewis shares a lot of the fiscal conservancy issues that this district shares, and I think that's kind of what got us here in the first place when we designed this building, and more recently Barrett Ranch and the Orchard complex out there in the back of this campus, and then hopefully this next round. So again, thank you for letting us be a part of this district, and I'll turn it over to my team.
Thank you, Brian. So I heard cookies and waffles earlier and got me hungry. So to set the dinner table for what Yesenia is gonna serve up later, if I can talk about your existing site as it stands right now. So through many discussions with Sean and Jim, we worked diligently to integrate a number of design options that we show here, from sustainable elements, site-conscious design, and materiality as far as tying the new building into the existing campus. We worked very diligently to tie these different aspects into your existing campus, so it looks like it fits and conforms with what you currently have on site. We also worked very hard to optimize that parcel of land that Yesenia is going to talk about with the new buildings to make sure that there's plenty of space for your students to be able to congregate out in front and move to and fro on the campus without feeling confined. So just to talk about the existing campus, which you know and love, hopefully. This is a view looking down your main boulevard to the east. And the new building, the new property is right on the other side of that fence. So this view will change in the future, hopefully, in the future. So the buildings will be placed down at the very end of this. Let's see what else I've said. We did multiple studies, and we're gonna get there here, I'm just, again, trying to set the stage. Multiple studies on how we could utilize this new parcel. And I think we went probably through 12 iterations of moving the buildings around side by side, to and fro, looking at fire lane access, looking at how the buildings could stack. And what we came up with that Yesenia is gonna present, I think works out very well, and it really takes the site and utilizes it quite well. We strive to maintain the landscaping you have here and try not to disrupt it too much. We also strive to not cut down very many trees. So these trees are gorgeous here, majority of them will stay. Majority of the trees on the parcel you're taking over are staying as well. So there's some gorgeous oaks on that side, they're all staying. Let's see. So, images from your current site, both Creekview Ranch, Orchard, and also from this building itself. We took several elements of these buildings and incorporated them into your new structure and what it's supposed to look like. Again, Milas did Orchard, which I think is a gorgeous building. I think it works well for your district. Deep overhangs, the color palette, lots of windows, the metal roof, all that. We worked with Milas and the district to make sure that these buildings don't look like an afterthought on our new parcel. We really wanted to tie that in. Just to touch on the Orchard campus, again, the Orchard building. You know well, you know how it works. It's a modular building. It's not a portable building, it's a modular building, so it's built in a factory. It's brought on the campus in pieces and modules, and they set those. This gives you the benefit of brand new site-built construction without all the dust and debris and confusion and everything that happens with on-site construction. So it's really a wow factor that these buildings come out, or I'm sorry, the contractor will pour a slab one day, the next day, kids come out and all the buildings will be set. It's really amazing to see that happen instead of traditional site-built stuff where they're out there for weeks and weeks and weeks. You see the studs go up and the sheathing go up and then building go on, or the roof go on, and so on and so forth. So it's really a wow factor to see these just come on and building deep. Excuse me. Again, just a quick view inside of the classrooms. This is Orchard. They're light, they're airy, there's plenty of windows, there's technology, the spaces are quiet and just really help those students be able to focus during the day. And I'm just showing you these because on the future buildings, it will look very similar to this. And hopefully it will give your students the same opportunities to grow in their education world. And now I'd like to turn it over and let Yesenia talk about the new campus. I've set the stage here and she can come up and lay it out. Yesenia?
Is the laser? Nope, that's okay. So as you know, current campus, here it is. So.
Can we wait just a second? I think we
Oh,
need
yeah.
to get you on the microphone. Thank you.
That was loud enough.
Get some fresh batteries.
It's just for amplification.
Yes. Let's see. Yay. There you go.
Thank you.
So as you know, this is the existing campus, so we have our main access point coming from Putney. I don't know how to say that. No, that's Cook Rail, right?
That's good.
Yeah, sorry, great, I don't have to say the other one then. So and I know that there's been talks about having a lot of congestion throughout there. So one of our, as architects and designers, our main goal is to fix your problems through design. So, you know, we've been blessed with this narrow site, and how best to utilize it is to, you know, find what are our needs and what are our desires. So some of our needs would be to have proper emergency vehicle access throughout the campus, so that in case of emergencies, they're easily able to get through to anywhere in the campus in a matter of minutes. A desire to enhance the site security. I know there's already really good visual lines throughout this campus, which is great, but we want to continue that. And then, again, the need to alleviate traffic during peak hours. And then the desire to filter and clean water before it gets let out into the creek, which is something that we do have to deal with. So here's the new design. I'll only flip back to this and then you can kind of see it over here. So there's the little parcel of land that we have. So on this we have 9 or 10 classrooms, a workroom, restrooms, and then again we have this very large area for pickup and drop off. So it'll help alleviate a lot of the traffic out on Cook Riolo Road. And so we designed this pickup drop off area that can hold roughly 40 cars. So it'll be very kind of like the airport, where there'll be a drop off lane and one so you can go around those people. And depending on how much you love your child that day, depends on how far you drop them off from that site. So you can drop them off all the way at the very end if you'd like and move them off, that's okay. We won't tell. And then again, another one of the big selling points of this design is we were able to use that intermediate space between the parking lot as a bioswale. So it will help filter all the water from the site before it goes into the creek. So, fun feature. So we did some 3D images so you can see how it'll look. So this is your pickup drop-off area. So this is where the good kids get dropped off, right here at the front. And then we provide some shade. So as Chris mentioned, we took very minimal trees out. We left all those oak trees and we were able to fit about 50 new trees on this site. So they'll get a lot of shade, a lot of, you know, good mingling spaces. So that'll be a plus. You know, the fencing obviously will be similar to the fencing you already have. So continue that language all the way throughout. And then, so this is another bird's eye view looking from the backside of the campus there. So, so here you can see how open the new site is, while still providing a good spot for the emergency vehicle access to get through all the way through that area as well. And then another one, this is at a pedestrian level, so you can kind of see how this space becomes, you know, very student focused. It is very open. So, you know, lots of space for, you know, students to mingle without really, you know, blocking up, you know, the walkway there. And then each classroom has a little seating wall, so you can sit down in front of the classroom. And it'll be for teachers to have supervised, you know, so the kids can have breakout spaces, learning spaces outside of each classroom, just, you know, just for recreational use as well. And then another view from the other side of the campus here. So again, restrooms are in that little hallway, the little red hallway. There's some restrooms in there. And, you know, it's really nice because I don't think there's any restrooms closer by. So this will be a good spot for restrooms. They don't have to walk as far into the campus to get to them. And, you know, one of the main points of our design too is that the buildings all face out into this like plaza courtyard area, so that, you know, when students are walking through using the restrooms or hanging out, there's always constant supervision. The teacher can look out any of these windows and just have eyes on this area. So it just adds to the site security as well. And yeah, I think that's all I have. And yeah, any questions?
Any questions? Yeah. Could I ask a couple?
Of course.
So the access for cars to this new structure, is there gonna be a gate there, similar in Cook Riolo? When school is not in session, usually around 5 or 6, they close the gate and then they open it up in the early morning. Will they have the same kind of And security, I guess, on that side.
Yeah, there'll be two sets of gates, a pipe gate up at the end of the parking lot, and then a gate right there at the campus. So that gate at the campus can be controlled very easily. So then again, at night, you're gonna have the, the pipe gate shut as well, so you can't access that parking lot at night.
Great. Second, when I hear the word modular, it doesn't give me a good connotation, I'll be honest with you. And I think Creekview Ranch, I've actually said this to people, has the nicest architecture of any school I've ever seen, at least in this area. It matches the kind of ranch, etiquette or whatever the word is, the environment of the area. And I love the assurance that you're gonna maintain that same kind of look.
I think that's an excellent question, and the original Creekview Ranch is a beautiful campus. There's no doubt, and it does, draw on that kind of vernacular of farming and
Exactly, yeah.
ag sheds and things like that. And I think to address just the tremendous increases in costs of construction over the last 20 years since this campus was built, we've had to find ways to economize in order to build facilities for these kids. And I think the orchard expansion we did about 6 years ago is a pretty good middle ground from very simple, very basic wood stick construction and what you have here on Creekview. These buildings are manufactured by Milas Modular down in Lodi with our design assistance. And I think the orchard complex of 5 classrooms does a pretty good job of melding some of those materials and the colors into a building that's not, $1,500-$1,600 a square foot. And I think that's the bottom line, and that's what Creekview cost you today. We're doing schools right now that aren't over the top, and they're $1,200 a square foot. And to be able to get new construction of this quality with the daylighting and things that and the sustainability and the durability without spending, more than what we're talking about, $700, $650 a square foot, is a pretty good compromise between, budget and aesthetic.
Yeah, the aesthetic thing is important, and you're gonna keep the same metal roof look with the slope.
These are virtually identical
Okay,
structural
that's great.
buildings to the orchard complex. Same materials, same manufacturer. We're gonna shake up the color a little bit just to kind of differentiate it a little bit, but it's the same as the Orchard 5-pack.
So you'll have the high ceilings, from what I've seen, I'm sorry for, you have the high ceilings inside the classroom, you have a lot of natural light coming in. Okay, thank you.
So just John and the others, if you're not familiar, so the Orchard complex, or maybe if you go back to that.
Yeah, so here is the orchard building inside.
Yeah.
These new classrooms will look pretty much identical to that. And there's the building. It does not look like a modular building. It really lends itself well with the architecture of the whole campus. And I think what they've designed mirrors that completely.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I have to say, my sister's an architect, and I showed her the school and we walked around, so she has a lot of info.
I was really surprised to learn that those were modular, because I think of new things I'm trying to do in the trailer. It's very unattractive, it's like sticks out like a sore thumb, ugly, and I've been in those classrooms and you never would know that they're modular, so.
The bottom right photo is of the orchard wing. And it's gonna match that.
Is that just 4 or 5 classrooms?
That's 5 classrooms.
Yeah, so I know we're trying to maximize classrooms with a really tough footprint, because they could have donated 5 acres, not to look a gift horse in the mouth, but it's like, this is a long, skinny, difficult property, especially since so much of it is just access to vineyard. So it's a really challenging situation. So I like too that you were able to add some parking on that loop as well, because parking, you add 10 classrooms and you add all these students, and then you have a family picnic, and then parking is, it's an issue. And so I think for all of our campuses, man, I wish we could add a big old giant parking lot for all of them to help out parents with access for events and things like that. But I guess I mean, I have no complaints about, given the footprint, what y'all have done, it's great, and you know, backing up that field is gonna be a whole bunch of houses, I mean, right up against the property line, probably, that would be some people's backyards, and so, given the limitation, you know, Sean and Jim have talked about some of our two-story options we've had at other campus, which would be crazy expensive, obviously. It's not really as much of an option out here in this country unincorporated section because two-story buildings are kind of frowned upon for the aesthetic of the ranchettes and all that out here. So I echo the sentiment that if it looks like Orchard, and it does, that y'all did a great job, all the trees and open spaces would be great. You talked about the overhangs there. I know a lot of our classrooms on campuses have the outside backpack hooks and things like that. Would that be the same type of situation here? Gotcha.
Yes, it will.
And I also have to say, I'm sure Ryan will echo about the parking or the drop off and pickup that we currently have, really needs to be improved.
To gain another access off of Vineyard is
It's
wonderful.
very needed.
It's,
Very
yes.
needed.
It would be great for the campus, and like Jim said, you know, we have to accommodate this growth regionally, and it's happening right here, and so we do have to absorb it, you know, on this campus unless we build a new campus, which nobody wants to do, and that would be exorbitantly expensive, unless you guys do modular giant campuses, which you might. Well, we'll be very pleased if this goes in without any hiccups. I mean, I like this personally, and so I think hopefully the students would enjoy it, so we'll see if they're allowed on that mulch portion or not, so that's one of the questions for kids. But yeah, it looks like, I like that, like you said, even the breakout spaces outside the classroom, that's a nice little touch, just more options, you know, seems very functional. I think Sean and Jim both, there's a lot more fencing on these images than the campus currently has. Is that like one day someday, or is that part of the implementation plan for these 10 classrooms?
Yeah, the fencing along the border of the parking lot there that you see, that's included. Yeah, so this campus already has a lot of fencing anyway. And so we're gonna use a lot of the existing fencing as well. But that portion across that entrance will be new fencing. And then we're still working with the developer as well to know what's gonna go along the east wall. We believe that's gonna be a CMU wall, but we still have to work with the developer on that.
What does CMU stand
It's
for?
like a masonry wall.
Okay. Any other comments?
Any questions, comments?
Is construction hypothetically, if everything was approved and goes forward, was it August 26th I saw? It was like some of
It's when we would start, yes.
Yeah.
Late August.
Cause
We'd be open for the 27-28 school
It's
year.
amazing.
that's the goal, and we might expect some of the new housing growth. Yeah,
Okay,
interesting.
that's impressive. Just the speed of it's impressive.
It is.
Any other questions, any comments? Anybody? Hearing none?
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we thank you.
So,
Oh, no, we are, I was gonna go.
we are requesting the Board of Trustees approve a services agreement with Milas Modular in the amount of $349,562 for the design and engineering portion of this build. There will be another contract coming later on, once we receive DSA approval. We need their design first to get the plans approved by DSA, that's our state architect, that's our authority having jurisdiction. So then we'll ask for the approval for the contract for construction and install of those buildings.
Got it, thanks, Sean.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the design and engineering services agreement with Milas Modular Buildings, Inc. for the design and engineering of new classroom buildings for the Creekview Ranch School Expansion Project.
I'll second, or Jason seconds. Motion by Ryan, second by Jason, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I love this. Great design. Okay, moving on, we have the approval of continued leadership development proposal. That's Superintendent Cliff DeGraw.
Alright. So back in the early fall, the board considered partnering with a couple leadership and governance coaches, and we entered into some leadership coaching. Following that, we had a leadership retreat / special board meeting. And having gone through that, that was the extent of our contract. As I mentioned before in my report, that I had a debrief with the consultants, and we've talked in our executive leadership team meetings as well. Feel like it was a great kind of initial start, a great foundation. I think if we stopped at this point and didn't continue, we'd be leaving a lot of progress and momentum on the wayside. And I do feel like we have some good work product from that, our board focus areas, clarifying our roles, clarifying the board's role in delegating and establishing the ends, and then staff working on the means. I'd like to see us continue, just for another phase at the very least. We talked about it in ELT and thought about, the fact that in a year or so here, we've got another election, and whether this is something we should focus on now or save for the future with a potential change board. But we really felt like, we don't know what's gonna happen in the future, and we should invest in the people that we have now. And as you know, this was one of kind of my personal interests when I was considering the job and was interviewing and talking to you all. I'd like to see us build on the momentum that we've established, and especially now we're gonna have a new president no matter who it is. So to be able to continue the leadership coaching and potentially follow it up with another leadership retreat / special board meeting in the spring, I think that would be well worth the investment. And I know the price is definitely a concern for a few of you, and I don't take that lightly. This is a big investment of time, of money, of participation. It does require all of us, all 9 of us, to participate twice a month in these leadership coaching calls. And then again, I've mentioned this before, but I've been through this before in my prior district with the school board, and we went through much more than just this initial phase. There are other districts around that have partnered with this group as well, and this isn't like a blank check, and this doesn't continue forever. Roseville Joint, for one, partnered with this group for a little while, and then kind of had built up their capacity and no longer needed that same support. So I don't view this as something that we're gonna need to continue in perpetuity by any means. But I do feel like we've just kind of barely, gotten above our ski tips, and I'd like to see us continue for another phase. So what you have before you is a potential proposal of a scope of work. It delineates the different costs for the coaching, which they're suggesting that we would do twice a month instead of, I think the last time we did it basically weekly. So this would minimize that cost a little bit. It would be spread over 6 months, beginning in January, culminating in another retreat, probably in May. So you've got the scope of work before you. There are some other services they provide that we're not necessarily in need of right now, but should the board ever want a specific board workshop on any of these topics that they also support, those costs are there, but those aren't necessarily what I'm recommending right now. So that's kind of my thoughts and where I'm coming from, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Obviously, this would involve all of us, so. What about you?
Any public comment on this?
Yes, we have 2.
Okay. Let's go ahead with that.
Perfect. First will be Carolyn Brown.
Welcome, Carolyn.
Good evening. I want to be very clear about what this next phase of work represents. It's not about personalities, it is about responsibility. It is about showing the community that this board is committed to governance, not politics, to stability, not spectacle, and to the success of this district above all else. The community has been watching closely, and their message is unmistakable. They expect this board to focus on the real needs of the district, not to use a board seat as a platform for partisan agendas or to push ideological viewpoints into public education. Rebuilding trust starts with a clear understanding of roles and the discipline to keep the district's mission at the center of every decision. The board's responsibility is to set direction, define priorities, and provide oversight. When board members replace governance with partisan agendas, they step outside that responsibility and pull attention away from students, staff, and district goals. This is not theoretical. It plays out in meetings, affects staff morale, and is noticed by families who expect leadership. The next phase of leadership development reinforces a shared understanding of the governance cycle, how decisions move through the system, where the board's role begins and ends, and how the superintendent and cabinet are empowered to do their work. This clarity reduces confusion, prevents overreach, and restores discipline to the board's work. The joint board and cabinet retreats are essential because they strengthen the partnership between governance and administration. When the board and cabinet operate as a unified leadership team, the district speaks with one voice. That unity is critical to restoring credibility with staff, families, and the broader community. Leadership coaching supports this work by helping board members stay reflective, disciplined, and focused on district goals, rather than partisan agendas or external pressures. Ultimately, this investment is about accountability. It is about choosing responsibility over reaction, governance over grandstanding. By committing to this next phase, the board sends a clear message to the community. Dry Creek's leadership is serious about doing its job, leading together and putting the district first. Thank you.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Next is Nicole Young.
Welcome, Nicole.
I have to move this, sorry. Good evening. So I was looking at this, this is a lot of money to spend to try to get all of you to agree on things that you're probably not gonna ever agree on. And I tend to have more respect for the board trustees who stand up for their principles and don't hold hands and sing kumbaya because it presents a united front. I want to see people fighting for my kids. I want to hear their opinions. I want to see where they stand on issues. I want to see how they feel about education issues. I want to see the test scores going up. I want to see the curriculum be competitive so that our kids can compete in a global market. I don't want to see everyone nodding and smiling and getting along. That is not why we chose this district. We chose this area specifically for this school district. I like to see the differences of opinion, and I also like to see the resolution, but most of all, I like to see people who stand up for what's right and what's right for our children. I do not like the price tag on this. I think you guys all have a fiduciary duty to protect the financial interests of this district, and I don't see that coming out of this price tag. So I think we're all adults. Everybody's adults here. I think we can figure out how to get along and run this board without spending roughly $60,000 on something where that money could go towards our kids and ensuring that just the best education we can give our children. So thank you, that's all.
Thank you, Nicole. Well, let's open up. Do we have any questions or discussion? I have one quick comment. I believe that the price, when I look at it, is close to $70,000 if you add everything up. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you add in the retreat, yeah, just the coaching alone was, I think, 59.
Okay. Discussion, questions?
Yeah, coming out of the prior retreat, I think we made a lot of great progress together. It wasn't about holding hands or being, friends or anything like that. It was about strategizing, learning the techniques and strategies to work more cohesively together with our executive team, with staff, and solidifying our roles. We were all new when we came into this role. We were new to the district and its inner functions, new to the role of school board members, and the direct formal training has been very beneficial in this process. I think the progress we made together, we accomplished some great goals in reformatting our board goals and how we wanted to approach that. had some great discussions, and we're seeing some fruitful results from that. I think we demonstrated some great cohesion, and that's worked to build some trust, and not only among staff and faculty, site administrators who have been observing, but also in the community. And this is important because that pays dividends down the line. And going back to my one of the points I made when this was originally brought up, we lead by example. If we expect our professional staff to go through continuing education, we should be doing that ourselves, be getting better, being more effective in our roles, and so that we can help them be more effective in theirs. And following that meeting, the response from my fellow board members was unanimously positive. We all had great things to say. Few of you had said specifically you learned some things that you never knew before, and you had benefited from that training. So there's definitely more to learn. We have another year, which will go fast, but kind of like Cliff said, a lot can happen in a year, and being equipped to deal with whatever happens is going to be beneficial to the students. It is going to be beneficial to the staff. And I think continuing this education is going to allow us to keep building on some of that trust that may have eroded in the last few years. And that's important. That's important in keeping everything functioning smoothly, that trust in what we do, and giving them the confidence that we're making the right decisions, and this training is gonna help us make the right decisions in the right times, right places. So I would love to see that continue.
Well, I have the opposite opinion. Just a couple of things regarding what you just stated. You said that it was unanimously positive. I think that because maybe we all walked away with something, I can't say that I don't think it was a terrible thing. But I don't think that equals that I would continue to find it a valuable use of my time or the resources that would be necessary to invest. And I don't want to offend anybody who actually took a lot away from it, because I know there are people here who did. My issue, I think that maybe in the first iteration, it may have been regarded as beneficial, but I think that after having gone through all of that at the last day, it's something that we could have done on our own without paying somebody to do. I think we could have all gotten together and hashed out things just as easily without investing over $50,000 of our funds. And I mean, I look at some of the stuff that's in this contract, and I mean, the things like it will help the board and cabinet understand how their roles fit together, how decisions move through the system, and how each group supports the other. I think that's a pretty hefty price tag for something that I think that we've pretty much established at the last training. Or the purpose of coaching is to give each leader a space to reflect, strengthen personal habits. And I'm not sure that I want to spend $70,000 for a space to reflect and to strengthen my personal habits. Part of it is I look at the language of this and I see flowery, vague, consultant, corporate language. And then I look at it and I think about our experience and I think, okay, we did this. What is the metric of success? What is the return on investment? You know, just because we felt good about it which is a subjective measurement that we're looking at, can we say that that the investment of more money is what we should be doing? And I think also one of the last lines it was major goal of the retreat is to create an environment where every voice is included. So when I look at things like this, I think, okay, that's a very vague problem that I'm assuming we're trying to address. So my own opinion is that I'm not comfortable, I mean, I wasn't a big fan of investing the $50,000 the first time around. I'm not a big fan of investing even more the second time around. And even though it's like 2 times a month, they're 1 hour, if I read correctly in here somewhere, they're 1 hour sessions. Well, it's the same because previously it was like once a week for half an hour, so I'm still doing 2 hours. But it's a huge investment and Cliff, to your point, it's like we have an election coming up and we're not all gonna be here. That's obvious because we're gonna have an election where 3 of us are in the same district. You're gonna have a new board. So to say that this is not something that's gonna be ongoing, it may be because you're gonna have a whole new slew of people here potentially. So I think you know where I stand. I appreciated it and seeing what it was like, and I appreciate that there were other people who really enjoyed it and want to continue on with it, but I just don't find it to be a good investment of our finances, especially since we're supposed to be stewards of the, the money that's entrusted to us. And sometimes I think too, and please don't take offense of this either, that sometimes it's easier to spend money like this when it's not yours. And we're responsible to the taxpayer, and that's what I'm thinking about. We're responsible to the students and the teachers here. I would rather invest that back in them than something I feel like we could easily get together in March and talk about things, about board goals, or about whatever goals, or how we're feeling about each other, or making sure our voices are heard without having to pay an outside company to come in and basically give us what I would consider kind of like counseling sessions.
Would you like to say anything, Ryan?
That makes a lot of sense, Gene. I totally understand that perspective. Torn, I think it was valuable. I think the investment, I definitely tactically got a lot out of the training personally. I'm one of the newer people on the board. I also see a window of opportunity with the new E-team to lay further foundations for cohesion. One of the things that is on this list is something I was interested in pursuing further, talking about the evaluation of the superintendent and board performance. I don't think we have a systematic approach for how to do that on an ongoing way, to lay a foundation for future, lay a foundation now for the future, board members to come of some working templates alongside of the new tribe. So I see it as we turned the page. I think that there is a lot more productive work that could be done in the next phase of continuing it on. Like I said, I personally got a lot of value out of it. I don't know if any of you all had something specific. I mean, all of you all have been doing what you've been doing for a long time. But if there was value that you found in it as the E-team, I'm interested in investing in you all. I think from a professional development standpoint in the district, we provide professional development to help with engagement, retention, and better outcomes. And so I think it definitely, anything we can do to help with engagement, communication, and better outcomes as a board is a positive thing for the culture of our school district. So yeah, I think that I do agree it's a hefty price tag. I wish if it was half that much, I think we might be having a different conversation, because I could see, I think you get what you pay for, and I think the value and results from what we did pay were good. I would like to see more work be done, and I'm for further training. I definitely don't think in 3 years or 2 years we'll be having the conversation of this even as an option, given the budgetary confinement of what's coming down the line. So I don't know, in light of the, I won't say boom time we're having right now financially, but increasingly so, this money, if it's not use it, I don't want to use it or lose it, but I think the investment of this money now when we have it in the future for our district and for the good of the E-team and the board is a good investment of money. I think we'll really have a hard time justifying any type of expenditure like this when things are extremely tight, which might limit us from doing something beneficial. So I get that, I understand our role for stewardship though, and I want to be cognizant of that.
So I'm curious though, what do you, what problem did we solve with all of this at the previous one? Like what, you're saying that you found it beneficial, okay, I get that, but what did it do for all of us that we could have done on our own?
Well, I'd like to add something from a point I made earlier to answer that question. I do hear what you're saying in terms of like your concerns about this is like superfluous language and it's kind of flowery and it sounds like it's very non-specific as to what we're supposed to accomplish with this. I hear you on that. And if there could be a little bit more clarity or specificity in the language, I think that would be beneficial when considering this contract. But a large portion of our job, working with each other and working with the executive team, is effective communication. And we had close to 3 years to develop that, and we didn't. And when we brought someone into kind of from the outside in, a neutral party, that was helpful. It gave us some strategies to work with, not just with each other, but with the executive team. And as I mentioned before, it was a positive demonstration of cohesion, not just between the 5 of us, but also with the executive team. So if
So it comes down to feelings, how everybody feels about it.
well, we all feel things
I mean,
when
I
we're at work,
guess,
so-
I guess I don't really see that an investment to make sure that we're all able to speak to each other is worth that price tag. Because I think we do speak to each other.
Yeah,
I think
I
there
mean, I
are
don't
some,
need any help with that.
I think there are some things that could have been, clarified that easily could have come from one of us or from someone on the staff, but not to the tune of $53,000 or whatever it was we spent. And I think the same thing is the same going forward. I don't think we have a problem speaking to each other. We've communicated just fine in the last 3 years. I think the issue is that sometimes people just didn't realize they could actually just make a phone call to somebody. Or they could just, pop over to a school. It was learning that worth $53,000 or whatever it was we invested? I don't think so.
I think we took away a few more things than that, but I don't think this.
So could I make a comment about the stewardship finances? That's all right. I appreciate that some of you mentioned that the first time we talked about this contract. And I do appreciate that, and we do need to take into account we're spending the public's funds, so I totally get that. What I see this is an investment in helping us. I mean, John, you've been president for 2 years, you made a mention earlier that you feel like you're kind of just fully learning the role now, and now it's time to step out of the role. So one, I don't know if any of you feel like you've completely mastered your role as a board member and completely understand where your role ends and begins. So that's one, that's the point of this, is to help you
But Cliff, I don't mean to
grow.
interrupt, but does anybody ever feel like they truly master anything? It's a valid question, because I don't think so. And even in my line of business, I tell people all the time, you're gonna always be striving to master something, but you're never actually gonna get there. We're always working to better ourselves, but true mastery of whatever, I think we will always continue to grow.
Without an outside facilitator, I don't see us working towards anything or perfecting anything or working towards mastery. And I disagree with Eugene. I don't think we could have just gotten together and done what that meeting was. The beauty of it was there was an outside facilitator who could say things to us, you and us, that I don't think we would have said to each other. Maybe you think we would have, but I don't think so. And then just as far as the finances, there are times in the past when this board has stepped into certain matters, whether they be political or not, that has caused the district to incur legal costs. And I don't think you guys thought about that at all.
No, I think we did understand.
Okay, well, it was way more than this, so I see this as an investment that would help us potentially prevent, finding ourselves in the mire or then incurring additional legal costs. So we're talking about this particular item, which is pricey, which I do understand. In the big picture of the district's budget and of all the things that go on, we have accrued a lot higher expenses, especially with legal in dealing with some of the stuff that this board has done in the past.
But you can say that about a lot of things that the district has done even before we even got here. You cannot necessarily compare saying, well, we should invest this money here because we had to incur legal costs there. Those two things, they don't go together, that doesn't matter.
We can't do anything about what happened before us, we can do something about where we are now. And honestly, I think this would be a better conversation to table for when Tracy's back and we can, because there are people that are heading out at the end of next year and there are people that are gonna continue after next year. And I think everyone that's potentially able to or should be speaking into this should be a part of that conversation. So I would like to table this honestly until we have all five of us and we can have a more rounded discussion about it.
Well, give me a chance to weigh in a little bit. I'm not sure about the procedure of tabling. I think basically Cliff could just bring it back at the next meeting if he wants to, when everybody's here. But a couple points. I voted to go forward with the training, the original training. I did that, I thought it would be useful, but I also gave my word to Cliff during the interview that we would do it. And so it's a matter of integrity to me. And I did learn, I did grow, and I did feel it helped me get the hang of being president better. And the key thing I got out of it was to be a better listener. I told the coach that I really respected Brad Tooker because he's such a great listener, I want to be a better listener. And I think, so I learned something personal, that's almost counseling though, you know what I'm saying? But for me, I think we got 80% there kind of thing, and I don't think the next 20% of improvement we could do is worth $70,000. The cost is just too much. And also I get a sense that this is not unanimous, and I don't think it's as worthwhile if it's not absolutely unanimous. Where people will unanimously, with enthusiasm, participate in this. I don't get the sense that it is that way. I also get the point though that Ryan made about how you want to support the staff and their confidence. And I want them retained and everything else, So I see, there's different points. I just wish it wasn't $70,000, honestly. And I don't see why we can't get together in March and have Cliff guide us through he seems like a pretty evolved person, and guiding us through getting along or working more efficiently together and all those kind of things,
Well, it's not his job to manage us, so
Well, it kind of is, it's his job to communicate and get along with the board and stuff, and we have a fiduciary responsibility, and then what Jean said is we really do have a deep responsibility, and I don't see this in government too often, but we have a deep responsibility to the taxpayer about being very cautious how we spend money. And there's teachers who would like to get paid a little more, there's teachers who think their class sizes are too big, and I think that's where we should be as far as our fiduciary focus. So, that's where I'm at right now.
I'll say one more thing about
Yeah, sure.
that. Just I think tactically the governance piece of it is, our job is to govern as a board for the good of the district. And so I think from a governance standpoint, tactically, I've got, probably 40 pages of written notes on specific tactical interactions, understanding how the board interacts with the staff, better understanding how to turn over the right rocks, ask the right questions. I think one thing that I don't know how we'll sort out is, how to effectively evaluate both the superintendent on a fair and regular basis, evaluating ourselves as a board in terms of our effectiveness. Those are things I think the other districts have invested in. They've got the benefit of that and then they're leveraging it now. Whether we pay for that from these folks or not, I think those are priorities we need to continue to pursue as a board with a new superintendent, to make sure our expectations of Cliff are clear, that our relationship is, appropriate. It has nothing to do with political correctness or whether we can openly discuss things or how we feel. I feel like we definitely have great communication and we were able to discuss and talk. I feel like I have more access to these folks than I ever had before. I think that's great. I think the trajectory that's gonna continue on for sure, Jean. So we're trending in the right direction.
I agree.
100%. So one thing, I guess, on another nuance, I would say for Cliff and his team, from a development, even if it's not something the board wasn't participating in, which would, it's 5 more people involved in the process. I don't know how much, for the E-team, coaching and the accessibility to have, some unity building and cohesion with this new team, which is fresh, by 2 people and 2 veterans. I'm interested in if we package, if the board does not want to pursue further coaching in that regard, I don't wanna cut out or not give you all the opportunity. If there's a version of this that would benefit you if we 5, don't wanna be involved in that process, just for the sake again of investing in you all and your team and tactics, et cetera. So, but I do like the idea of having more opportunities to have the type of workshop type conversations like we had. I think the constraints of this format are difficult for collaboration in many ways. We don't want to do anything, we have to respect the Brown Act and procedure and protocol. But we need more space to make more progress, I feel like, to go further. And so, and we've been doing that in the last week, how we've been sitting down to massage the board goals, et cetera. It's been effective, and those are great ways we can continue to push forward. So, tabling it for now. I mean, I hope to be here for a really long time on a seat in this entity. So I'll eat up as much as I can learn. We obviously have places like PCOE, the CSBA, which you went to. I wasn't able to attend this year. For our own professional growth, I think it's important for us to model, like you said, or someone like Jason said, to the rest of the community that we're growing. So I admire you, Jean, for your proactive approach in going to those conferences, and sharpening your axe in terms of governance. And so something I need to do a better job of, and I'd like to do better. I don't expect the community to pay for it all and give it to me on a silver platter, but I did, with the Jedi coaching I was receiving, I feel like I did get a lot of benefit personally. So as we investigate that with these guys, if we push back on price or canoodle how to put this together for the benefit of you all, I'm interested in continuing what was started and the foundation that was laid in some capacity, so.
So just one more point I wanted to make. 3 of us will be up for reelection. And in 1 year, 3 of us, well, I don't know who's gonna be here or not, but there's gonna be a big change. And maybe that would be best, that kind of money would be best invested then. But, I mean, what we do, I'll go ahead.
On that note, those who are remaining, if there are new people that come on the board, continuity is gonna be important. So having that established knowledge and governance and team cohesion and effective communication is gonna be all the more important as we mentor to any incoming new board members. So all the more necessary to build that trust between each other, between us and the staff and the community. I don't see it as a bad investment when we're learning how to govern better. I wish our governor would do that.
Yeah, well, we all wish, well, I won't say anything. So what's the action we take, Cliff? What options do we have at this point?
Well, you can take no action, and then, we can take that back and maybe we can consider some of the things Ryan said and suggested, and if there's something we wanna pursue, that's something we'd have to bring back as well. So that'd be another discussion for another meeting. But I mean, I think all your input's valid, it's important, you're bringing interesting and important perspectives. I mean, we did have the same discussion with, potentially a completely different board in November. Is this something we should pursue? So we didn't wanna just mail it in for the next 12 months and then and then invest in the new board and just kinda pretend you're not here. So we felt it was, it was worth a discussion, worth an attempt. Obviously, if that's not where the will of the board is, then that's, then we won't go there. So if there's obviously not a motion, there's not enough to carry it, then this just dies
Well,
right now.
if there's a motion and only two voted in the affirmative, the motion would fail.
Right.
And that would be the end of it, or would it still come back?
That'd be a good question, so, I mean,
Is it,
Come back.
yeah, I guess that's a good point.
So
If there
again-
was interest in bringing it back, or if at one point, when Tracy's back, if there was more interest, that'd be,
If we could-
potential, another discussion.
if we could cause they bring up some valid concerns about pricing and some of the specific services. I don't know if that's a conversation that can be taken back to the consultant group. I'm not really interested in changing consultancies because they already know us, they already know our program, and starting over would probably be a lot more expensive. But can we take some of these concerns back, get some answers, get some more clarity, and then have a chance for our fifth board member to speak into this?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely take back all this input. And then if at one point we feel like we want to bring it back up as a topic, we can have that future discussion, but
I
I mean,
guess,
right now, it just, yeah.
I think to
You don't
Jean's
take
point,
any action.
specifically, we should have a goal of what we would like to accomplish from it. I understand this is very generic and very fluffy. Even if we had to each write, what we're really interested in to get out of this, to like clarify from what do we want to accomplish? Is this the right tool to accomplish that? Can we do it without these people's intervention? That's really probably a great place to start. I will say specifically because we have a new superintendent, the effective oversight, evaluation of superintendent and board performance, that nuance of it, I'd be curious if you could pursue asking
Yeah, I think that's just one of the à la carte services.
Right, if we're not gonna commit to another leg of the journey, in a committed way, I think if we packaged a few things we wanna get from a more of a special ops type of a exercise, I'm interested in some of that, just to help keep the relationship with, to keep the conversation going, but to help build some scaffolding that I think will be a little bit better done with some veteran assistance. That's something specifically over evaluation of superintendent and board performance that I'm interested in, if they could, put together something like that, or even just one of the two, if that would be cheaper, et cetera, so.
Yeah, the way I've seen that done in a prior district was, one of them came and facilitated in closed session with the board and the superintendent, and everyone else was excused on just developing an evaluation tool and then helping the board evaluate the superintendent. So I mean, if you guys feel like you need assistance with that, that's something they do.
I mean, we could take a shot at it, but obviously just having to be able to pick up the phone and ask for the backup of people who've already gone down that road, and effectively established some of those, predictable patterns with their, particular board and E-team relationship, I'm interested in that. But yeah, that's hard, the hard thing is, again, given the circumstances, it's very hard to flesh out things like that, given the type of, meeting-based constraints we have, not being able to all sit down and massage that without it being a meeting, a public meeting, so. Nothing to hide, just I'm saying it's hard to cover all that ground, so, anyway.
Well, technically, when we met, that was a public meeting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, we'd have to.
Somebody showed up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the impression I get is if we took a vote right now, it would be 2 yes and 2 no. Am I correct in that, Ryan?
I would be interested, yeah.
As far as what we have now.
Yeah, but but I
So-
also share I know, to see what's the intent of it, how else could we package it, what might those prices be, I'm interested in that, if it's not, again, it would be ideal to have unanimity in what our course is, so there would be active and passionate participation across the board.
Well, yeah, I agree, and I don't know if we could get to that point.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, Cliff, I don't know if you give me, should we, because it is on the agenda, should we do a motion and vote, or should we just
No,
move
yeah,
on, or what should we
just,
do?
sounds like we just need to table it. I don't see the point in a vote.
Do we need to vote for a table, or no?
No.
Okay,
I
so,
mean, if you take no action,
Just taking no action.
we just move on to 7.6.
Let's take no action at this point then.
okay, well, it sounds to me that we'll wait till Tracy gets back, and you guys will have 3 votes, but I guess that's how it goes.
I think that we have more nuances to explore here. so I
Okay,
think
well,
we can-
you can persuade me,
We should always be open to
Oh,
more
yeah,
information.
totally open. So let's move on. If we could, let's go to 7.6, a resolution, let me get my glasses. Resolution designating a representative and alternate to the school's insurance group joint powers board for Dry Creek Joint Elementary School District. That's Cliff.
Yeah, so you have a resolution before you, so our district is a member of SIG, the school's insurance group, where we kind of pool our resources and get preferred rates for medical coverage and things like that, as well as other supports. We have to have this resolution approved designating our rep an alternative, so we can actually vote as part of the JPA. They have a meeting on Thursday, so we're hoping Christina could be our person to vote and represent us on Thursday once this gets approved. So this was just one of those with the prior rep moving on, Roger, we needed to redo this and just hadn't done this yet, so.
Okay.
That's what this is, so we recommend the board approve the resolution 2025-05.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-05. I won't read the whole thing. It's item 7.6.
Second.
We have a motion by John, second by Jason. We're gonna do a roll call vote. Sarah?
Correct. Board Member Walker,
Jason?
Oh, yeah, yes. 2 hours of sleep tonight, sorry.
Member Panoni,
Yes.
Board President Flinsky,
Yes.
and Member Haynes.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
we have to specify who we want to do
She's already in the
it.
resolution.
Okay, perfect, good.
Okay, now we're going to item 8, which is the annual organization meeting of the Dry Creek Joint Elementary School District Board of Trustees. 8.1 is nomination to elect the board president for Dry Creek Joint Elementary School District Board of Trustees. This will be a roll call vote, is it no? Are there any nominations for the office of president?
Yes. Initially, I had approached Ryan, because Ryan, I think you're thoughtful, I think you bring a lot to the table, you're willing to learn. You have kids here, you care about the district, and you want us to do well. I can tell that in the questions you ask and how you present. And I know you had mentioned you had some personal things at home that are preventing you from doing that, which I understand completely. I too am too encumbered to take on that task. And since Tracy isn't here and John's on his second term, I'd like to actually nominate Jean.
Jean, are you willing and able to accept that position?
Yes, I am, thank you.
Are there any other nominations?
I'm happy to second the nomination for Jean, and I think you set the bar high, John, you've done a great job this last 2 years, so appreciate
I'm
you.
sure into it, let's put it that way.
After seeing how much work it is, I think it's, someone needs to be able to put their hand to the plow and do a really good job with it, and I think Jean's participation in the CSBA, her governance focus, and her wanting to be a good steward of finances even is a good check and balance, so yeah, I second that.
And Jean knows how to run a meeting. I've seen her in action, and at least once, and she did a good job.
Yeah, I'll second that. I was in Italy and I watched the review of it, or the video of it, it was excellent, really good job. And guess we'll do the roll call vote, Sarah.
And she could probably pronounce Shondelmeyer, by the way.
Shondelmeyer.
It's gonna be your
Try saying it 3
benchmark.
times.
But I will tell you, I may have themed days, so you may have to get dressed up.
Well, it's good enough for the staff, it's good enough for everybody.
Just give me some lead time. I'll be ready.
Okay, I'm ready for the roll call. Member Haynes,
Yes, I
Let's just say Jean.
would, Jean.
and then President Flinsky,
Jean.
okay. Member Walker,
Jean.
and Member Panoni.
Jean,
Congratulations.
thank you.
I'll hand this to you at the end of the meeting. So now we're gonna go on to clerk. Are there any nominations for the position of clerk?
I'd like to nominate Ryan.
Clerk I could do,
I would totally second that.
be good experience.
I was honestly open to Jason also being clerk, honestly. But Ryan, are you willing to accept that job?
Yes, I
Willing
would.
and able?
Yep.
Okay, and you seconded the nomination of Ryan?
I nominated him.
I second.
Oh, you know, no, okay, okay, I'm sorry, I'm excused, okay.
So just
And
before
you're
we,
able to do it, okay,
when we roll call, you're just gonna say aye,
okay.
because he's already been nominated, you don't need to say his
Motion.
name.
Okay, good.
Ryan.
That's it doesn't matter, last time we had two people who said names, go ahead.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. President Fenske,
Aye.
Member Walker.
Aye.
Member Haynes.
Aye.
And Member Panoni.
Yes.
Ryan, congratulations to Ryan, so we have a new president and clerk,
Congratulations,
we'll-
Ryan.
we'll move on
I'm excited to work with you.
You're gonna do a good job.
to appointment of the superintendent as secretary to Dry Creek Joint Elementary School District Board of Trustees. Are there any nominations for that?
I know.
Ryan, just kidding.
Yes, Cliff would do well in that role.
Okay, we have a nomination for Cliff, are you willing to accept that role?
Yes.
Okay, this will just be a straight voice vote. I'll make a motion to appoint Cliff as superintendent. And second,
Second.
we have a second from Ryan, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes 4-0. 8-4 is nomination to appoint one board member as representative to elect members to the Placer County Committee on School District Organization. Who's doing that now?
Brian.
Did you attend a meeting or anything?
I voted. That was my job, I had to vote.
You voted, okay.
He voted once.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun. Anybody, is there anyone who would be interested in that position?
Can we vote for Tracy and Cynthia?
Okay.
I'll nominate Jason for that. Are you up for that, Jason?
Jason's a good voter.
Aye.
I second nomination for Jason.
Okay, so you're up for willing, Jason's willing to do it.
Yes.
Okay, so the nomination is for Jason to be the board member for representative to elect members of the Placer County Committee on School District Organization. Second,
I'll second.
motion by John, second by Jean, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 8-5 is the adoption of the 2026-2027 regular board meeting calendar for the Dry Creek Joint Elementary School District Board of Trustees. Let me pull that up real quick.
That looked pretty straightforward to me.
I think it's the same, similar where we have the February break and 2 weeks in Easter.
There's no February break.
Yeah, we have a break in February, I
We have a
believe.
meeting in February.
Oh, that's the Board of Trustees meeting. I was thinking of the calendar for,
Oh, okay.
I'll forget
It's
it,
like
yeah.
we're talking about our meeting dates.
Yeah, that all looks good. I believe our break is after February 11th, correct? Where we have the vacation time?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll make a motion to approve this calendar for the Board of Trustees meeting dates.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Ryan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Next, we have policy review. We have a first reading on selected board policies for review. Cliff, should we take each one of these individually on 10.1 or take 10.1 as a whole?
You need to do each one of them individually, but I think there's a public comment.
Oh, is there a public comment? My apologies.
Yes, we have one, Nicole Young.
Thank you.
Hi, so I was looking at these policy updates, 5145.7, and they're supposed to reflect the Tennessee v. Cardona, court case, the Supreme Court case. It's a 2005 case that was vacated down Biden's Title IX regulations that tried to elevate gender identity to a protected classification. The Cardona court case also held that forcing teachers to use names or pronouns based upon gender identity violates the First Amendment as compelled speech. So this also violates the Equal Protection Clause under the Constitution. So we have policy in here that will violate, if we follow Tennessee v. Cardona, we will be violating state law, so they're not aligned. So we're taking chunks of these policies that don't align with the Supreme Court case and we're just moving it to different places in the policy, it appears. I'm asking that this be tabled until we can get more clarity because it was very unclear what was actually going on with how these policies would reflect Tennessee v. Cardona and follow state law. They were incongruent. So I'm just asking as a member of the public and a stakeholder and a parent in the district that we can table these until we can get more clarity. At least as a parent, I would like more clarity. That's all, thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. Yeah, just to kind of interject here a little bit, I looked through all of the ones at 10.1, and I prefer not to take action on any one, so I think just one of us has to pull it. And
I'd like to learn more about it before.
yeah, there's several that I just want to talk to a few people more about that I didn't have a chance to, so any board member could actually ask for policy to be delayed till the next meeting. I'd like to do that with all the ones in 10.1. Okay, so let's go to 10.2. We have the first reading, selected board policies for review, the board policy on administrative regulation 5141, healthcare and emergencies administrative regulation. Is any board member not prepared to take action on that regulation? Hearing none?
I'll make a motion to waive the second reading of item 10.2,
10.2 5141, regulation 5141.
what you said.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Now we're gonna go to healthcare and emergencies administrative regulation 3516.1.
Here, sorry, John, point of order,
Am I
sorry.
backwards? Yeah.
No, I must have misunderstood your question earlier, so all of the policies under 10.2 are all voted on together. So
Oh,
BP,
okay.
AR, all four of those
Yeah,
go
okay,
together.
okay. Would anybody like to pull anything from 10.2? Okay, hearing none. I'll make a motion to pass all policies in item 10.2.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Jason. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. 10.3, we have selected board policies for review. Would anybody, namely sexual harassment complaint procedures, would anybody want to pull those for further consideration?
I just do because I'd like to continue reviewing it.
Okay, that will be pulled till our next meeting. That's a Title IX, yeah. Okay, then 10.4, first reading, selected board policies for review, board policy administrative regulation exhibit 1113, district and school websites.
And I'd like to hold that one too, so I can continue looking over that one.
So trustee Pagnoni would like to withhold 10.3 and 10.4. And so we'll consider those at a later date. Okay, now we're going to pending agenda items. For our next regular scheduled meeting, which is January 22nd, 2026. Is there any items that would any trustee like to make any final comments?
Have a Merry Christmas.
I was gonna say, have a great Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
See you next year.
See you next year.
Enjoy the holidays. Be happy, and meeting is adjourned. We'll see everybody January 22nd.